for our kickoff at 4 o'clock, and we will be here with Dave. Dave, would you like to say hi to the people?
Hello to the people.
As literal as you can be. And good time to remind you today, we had a live stream game earlier of the Apache versus the Somerset Wyverns, which you will be able to watch back on our YouTube. And while you're there, I may remind you that it would be a good idea to subscribe to us, so you can always find us in your feed, and hit that little notify button as well, so you'll always be known when we're coming out with our live streams, whether that's our live stream games on Sundays, or whether that is the rundown on a Monday, or Britball with the Breens on the odd Thursday or Friday. So make sure to hit that little notify me button, and you will be made aware of all of our upcoming live streams out here on Sportank. And a reminder as well to go and follow us everywhere. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on TikTok, and you can even find us on Twitch. So wherever you're looking to get your Britball coverage, you'll be able to find it here at Sportank. And the players are going into the locker rooms now to get ready for their player call-outs, which will be done by Tebbs, who is very, I would say it's rather rude of him, but he's leaving us to go over to Germany to commentate on the ELF next week. But he will be leaving us with a parting gift of his, as he described, dulcet tone. And as the teams are both getting ready, Dave, what do you think we're going to see here today?
I know from talking with the Solent head coach earlier, he's just looking to be competitive. As long as he can have odd drives, winning 1-1 after the close loss to the Warriors, they'll be looking to get that momentum going. I'm sure. Very
competitive game for the viewers at home. I'm sure some of you may be watching along. Maybe you've got some friends or some family that are playing in this game, and we're on all of their sides. We don't have any sides here. We just want everybody to do well at all times. And we are going to leave you to listen to the player call-outs, and we will be joining you just as the referees walk the teams out for kickoffs to take you to.
And ladies and gentlemen, your offensive starters for the Bristol Aztecs. Number 51, left tackle, Will Batts. Number 77, Paul Potter. Number 66, Tom Levin. Number 74, Rash. Number 78, Joe Abu. A wide receiver, number 13, David Azamar. And number 5, and number 8, TJ Joe.
All your shit right to the fence! All
Both sides get ready to walk the captains out. Just a reminder well, not a reminder, I'm telling you, and the side judge will be Dan Harris Davis. So thank you as always to all them going through what I would describe efficient warm-ups. Everybody looked like they were all in the right spot and knew what they were supposed to, and really challenge a team who we expect will probably be playing football through September and into the playoffs. On your right, and Solent Aztecs coaches are calling for their off. Barring any unforeseen errors on
That's starting to come out now. Just one last player coming out for Solent before awaiting this kick from Solent.
And they have with number 81, wide receiver DeAndre Rucker, and number 9 Jackass Hall fields the ball. And he finds a massive hole, and he not what Solent was. And we saw them come out in trips. And how does it work when you're in a 4-3 and you're going up against trips? What kind of adjustments do you have to make?
You've got to make sure that one of those outside linebackers are happy going out to the flats or out to a hook to curl to cover underneath. Particularly having 4 over the top, you're most likely going to be seeing a cover 2 or a cover 4. So you've got to make sure you've got support in the pass game from one of those outside linebackers. Yeah,
it's going to be a difficult matchup for them to work today, as the PAT is good. So to start off the game, 3 plays, 7 points. Bristol Aztecs up 7-0 as they will now kick the ball off to Solent Thrashers. Now, what do you expect the Solent to try and do to come out? Are they going to try and answer back immediately, maybe take some shots? Do you think they're going to try and just hold on to the ball? What would you be thinking here if you were their OC?
I think it's one of those that you've got to try and find your feet early in a game here, especially one where you're not so favoured. You want to make sure that you're getting the stuff that you've repped throughout the week down. So whether that be their run game, whether that be their pass game, I expect them to come out and be kind of basic, maybe show some little twists on what they've done already this season. But they'll want to get points on the board. But again, I think at the moment, being realistic, if they can get a first down or 2, they should see that as a successful drive.
Well, let's see if Solent can live up to that challenge as they're preparing to return the kickoff. Back there with number 83, and that is Alex Bruce getting ready to return. Number 85 checks both sides are ready as he kicks the ball off deep. Very good kick. Fielded by number 83, leading off to the left. And he breaks through up to the 37, it looks like. Good return there.
Yeah, Solent set up really well. Obviously had an idea to return to the left as soon as it was kicked. 22 looked like he was leading, the second returner looking like he was leading traffic. But they'd set up some blocks, almost like a little channel through on that left-hand side. Positive start for Solent, that's for sure.
Underrated part of the game, special teams, especially when you can get that field position. We saw what it did for the Bristol offence. Not that they might have needed that much help anyway. Let's see if it can give the same boost to Solent.
Yeah, anything past the 30 on a kickoff, you're obviously going to be happy with as well.
I can agree with that. And they come out with a tight end to the right in a trips tight end formation, and they hand the ball off on an inside run, and that's number 27. No problem. So for any of you who were unable to catch the first scorer, it was a 3-play drive, 3 touches to TJ Jones for the Bristol Aztecs, as Solent came out there with a little handoff to Sam Adesanya. Looked like they wanted to run up the middle and those lanes got clogged up there.
Yeah, it was almost like a little inside zone. Some good run support from the safeties as well, making sure that it wasn't there, but definitely swarmed to the runner.
And a handoff against Sam Adesanya with a little bit of a counter. And the ball's out! And the ball's out! And it looks like a Bristol Aztec has recovered it. Number 23 there. Number 23 there with the recovery, getting the ball straight back for them. And they will get the ball at around the 30-yard line. Looked like it was Victor Wright, the linebacker from UWI, who also played some college football in the States over at McAllister College in Minnesota, coming up with an early play for them and turning them over on what looks like about the 33, 34-yard line. What do you think there, Dave?
Yeah, 33 yards now for this Bristol offence to go 2 scores up so early. It's not the start that Solent would have wanted after such a positive kick return. 2 runs for losses, even though they might have only been 1 or 2 yards. But the main thing, losing that ball, you've got to look after it against this team.
Well, they've come out now with trips to the left this time, and they're going to see if they can score as quickly as they did. And they start off with a drop back, play action. He's got number 0 over the middle of the field, AJ Carr, and that is another Bristol Aztecs touchdown. With the play action pass, he runs a deep post over the middle, no safety in sight. Dave, what did you see there?
It looks like there's some blown coverage there. 0 was in between 2 men, almost as if he was expecting one of the others in front of him to drop back, and just didn't follow his man. Left him in no man's land. Could have thrown it to 1 or 2 receivers there for the score.
So I think one of the things that one of the issues Trips presents is that a lot of the times defenses will have to look at it as split field coverages. They've got to split the field in 2 because there's an unbalance of players there. How do you try and work around that as a DC? What sort of answers do you try and provide?
Personally, like you said, we try and split the field and run almost like a cover 4 on one side, cover 2 on the other one.
Oh, and hello, they're going under centre out of their play action attempt, and they've run a run play and the ball's fumbled, and it's been recovered in the end zone, and he's down. That's a bit of a surprise. You'd think that a team that's already put up 2 scores, you wouldn't need to put, say, extra double points on the board, but they came out with an interesting under-centre play there.
Yeah, it could be something that you'd expect to see maybe a little bit later in the game where they're trying to try something new, try something different in a game situation rather than practice. Didn't quite come off there. It looked like it would have been short even if the ball didn't come out. But yeah, possibly just trying something a little bit new, trying to catch Solent out.
They're not perfect after all. So we saw Solent come out and try and establish the ball on the ground a little bit, trying to run inside. Looks like it's going to be a very tough job to do against this Aztecs team. What would you try and maybe do differently on this drive? Would you go for the same thing? Maybe try and just build some momentum up? Do you maybe start pushing the panic buttons early, try and catch up with them?
I won't necessarily try to do the panic buttons. I think you've got to stay calm in this situation. As we've said a couple of times at the moment, with Bristol being the heavy favourites in this game, as a Solent head coach, you want to be just making sure that you're doing the basics well. Ball security, making sure that it's there, not giving Bristol short field. You'll certainly be able to take those positives from that.
Yeah. Well, number 85 is off to kick off again, and that's a big kick all the way down to the goal line, fielded again by number 83. And it looks like those Aztec players are swarming to the ball, but he's found a lane up the left, and he manages to return the ball to about the 23, 24 yard line there. A lot of Aztecs players were able to get free to our right, but they weren't able to clog up the spaces to the left.
Yeah, again, I think it's by design from Solent. They're almost looking to set up a wall over on one side, so it almost looks from Bristol's left as they were attacking it, that there was kind of numerous players able to swing around, but just not quite getting that wall set up as it did on the first return, but still around the 25, especially with such a deep kick. Take those positives.
It seems early on like if they're going to get any points on the board and get some momentum, special teams is definitely going to be the way that they're going to try and do this. As they come out now in what I would call a deuce formation with a tight end and a receiver to one side and 2 receivers on the other. And a handoff again to Sam Adesanya, and he's met by many, many bodies in the backfield as number 96 Tio comes in to finish the job there. What's going on up front? Why are Solent not able to try and establish a run in those early plays?
I think from what I can see at the moment, the Bristol front 4 are being given the freedom to almost just take care of what's inside the tackles, using their strength, using their size to almost squash down this offensive line. You can see, number 11, for instance, on this left-hand side, being able then to play that contain rather than a lineman, and it just frees up the D-line in order to be able to make those tackles.
And they go for another handoff. There's a flag on the play, so the outcome of the play might yet to be determined, as they managed to get some positive yards out there to the left, but swallowed up only a couple yards ahead of the sticks. And we will wait for the decision from the umpire. The referee who threw the flag seems to be pointing into the backfield, so I have a feeling that bad is being compounded with worse, as Solent are expected to potentially move back some yards, although
may have been an offside, just thinking about where the flag would have been. It looks like it is against Bristol, so yeah, 5 yards added on.
Right. So now we're looking at 2nd and 5. Solent coming out with more of a trips tight end formation this time, with a tight end off the ball. And Sam Adesanya to the left of the QB in the backfield. As he drops back, he has to roll out as he gets early pressure. Number 16 on the move trying to make space, and the ball's into him, and it just hits his hand and comes down. And there's a flag in the backfield. I wonder if that's going to be on the Bristol Aztecs, as number 53 seemed very animated at the end of that play.
Quite possibly. It looks obviously like it was a broken play there. Some good work from 16 to try and get some separation. Obviously, as a receiver, you do try and look to stick at your levels when something like that happens. And it is a penalty against Bristol. And an automatic first down for Solent. I think you've got to make sure that the one thing you don't want to happen as this Bristol Aztecs team is to lose yards by yourself. That's 2 penalties now that have given 20 yards to the Solent side.
Indeed.
Even though they might not have been executing, they might see this as a positive.
Well, let's see if those yards are going to come back to haunt them as Solent come out now with a 2-back set. 2 receivers split out to the right and 1 to the left. And the ball is handed off to Sam Adesanya again as he breaks through the box and is brought down there by number 30. It looks to be about 3 yards shy of the first down marker. What difference did it make there, bringing that second back into the backfield? What was he able to provide that tight end on the line didn't?
I think it brings you some vertical blocking more than anything else. A lot of the time on the O-line, you're always looking to work laterally and open gaps up that way. If you've got an extra person there that's running downhill already, it means that hole's a lot more wide open like it was on that play.
Well, they've come out with the same formation again, so we'll see if they're able to continue to bring that. Number 42, the receiver there, not looking entirely sure of his alignment. And the ball's handed off to number 28, I think, 22. And he is tackled there by number 35.
And looks like a first down as well for Solent. So again, this is what the head coach will be looking at, making sure that they're able to execute and make it competitive. Even though they're 2 scores down, it's positive signs.
And that was Borge, Raphael with the run there. And number 4, who's in the backfield there, David Peppers. The head coach did tell me before the game he would be an important player, and you can see the value he's brought into that backfield, helping them to be able to get some penetration, get some yards through the middle of the box there.
Yeah. As he lines up now out wide as a slot with that number 4 in a spread formation. Oh no, moving over.
He is, as they've come out in spread this time. And he's motioning in now across the formation. And the ball's handed off to number 22, Borge again. And he's brought down for no gain there with 2 players in to make the tackle, number 23 and number 3. And we see that Solent, maybe not all of the players, I've heard there were some injuries. They're maybe not quite all up to speed with the playbook, the same as the starters who have been playing a few games already this season.
Yeah, a little bit of confusion that you don't want to see in week 6. A lot of these teams have been training since January. Some earlier, some a little bit later, and you need to be making sure those mental errors aren't there now.
Take me in the mind of a coach, maybe after this next play, of what it's like when you're having to deal with this situation, where you're having to get that next man up and you're having to prepare them really quickly. But for the moment, it's second down, and they're coming out in a spread formation. The QB is dropping back to pass, and he throws an out route to David Peppers, number 4, and he's caught it, and he keeps going, and it looks like he just about gets a first down there. Really impressive to take that catch, run through a couple of players. Great. They're moving the ball really well here.
Exactly, yeah. Great second effort from number 4 there as well. Definitely, again, positive moving. There is that first down confirmed. And again, those early penalties from this drive, 20 yards of penalties, have now turned into 2 more first downs. We're starting to hear a little bit more from the Solent sideline now, almost as if they're just trying to encourage their offense further forward.
And they're coming out again in that 2-back set. This time number 0 in the backfield with the running back, Rowan Milner. And let's see what they can do here. And the ball's handed off to number 22, and he is swallowed up by number 98, who lets him know that he's there as he gets up. And what seemed to go wrong for them on that run compared to some of their earlier runs from that 2-back look?
I mean, it looks like they might have just shifted the D-line across, possibly a stunt at the middle. I'm not 100% sure from it, but when you've got a defensive tackle looking like he's getting through and not being touched, it usually means it's a missed blocking assignment.
Yeah, it's very, very tough. Why is it so difficult to handle those twists and stunts as an offensive line?
Because you have it in your head, you have a mental image of what the play is going to be like, because you believe you know where the defense is going to be. By having those D-lines shifting around and stunting around, it's always going to make it a lot more difficult for an offensive lineman to pick it up.
And Solent come out with trips with a tight end on the line, and they'd run a little toss there to number 22, and it's swallowed up again. This time, two Aztec players in there to make the play, number 55 and number 25. They seem to struggle to run the ball on the outside. How do you effectively run the ball outside? What are the keys there?
It's making sure that you can get blockers to that outside. As I mentioned before, it's almost looking like Bristol are leaving that front 5 offensive line, or their 4 defensive line to deal with everything in between the tackles. It gives freedom then for linebackers, for safeties or rovers, depending on how you want to call them, to make those tackles outside. So you're matching speed with speed.
So Solent come out in spread on this big third down here, third and about 15. QB drops back to throw the ball outside, caught by number 16, but immediately swallowed up by number 3 there for the Aztecs, Joe Cassidy, making a big play there, the GB defensive back, proving why he is of that level, as number 16, Will Harding, makes a good reception there, but is immediately wiped out there. So we'll see what Solent come out here to do on 4th down after what we'll describe as a positive drive, but we'll let Dave talk a little bit about that once the ball is trapped. And they come out with a field goal unit, and it looks to be, I would describe it as about a 42-yard attempt. Ball is down, kicked, and unfortunately wide left. So after taking the ball, I want to say about 40 yards, including the penalty, their drive stalls out. What was different about that Solent drive, do you think?
I think they were showing some different formations. As we were mentioning before, they want to settle in to see what works and to see how they can adjust to it. I think it was good play from number 4, I believe, when he was dropping into the backfield. Great work from him, showing his versatility there. Showing the 2-back formation as well, which seemed to work quite nicely. It'll be interesting to see if there's any further adjustments, any further changes that they'll be able to do.
Well, we will make sure to tell you all about those as they arrive. And right now, Aztecs are back out there with their fast-paced, no-huddle offense, with trips to the right, this time with the running back to the strength. And they get the ball in his hands, number 9. And he is free already, and he's only got number 30 to beat, and he's down the sideline and just taken down by number 30. Looks like he's being marked down at about the 11-yard line on the field and already free. How are they being able to break off these big runs so easily?
Literally all you have to do, keep an eye on number 66, number 78, both of them there within 10 yards of where the runner's finishing. Even after the running backs got through the hole, they're still running down the field, still looking for work, still trying to make it difficult for Solent to make any tackles.
What a luxury to have offensive linemen that can move like that and create those holes. As now they come out in trips to the right with the running back, this time to the weak side of the formation. And now they flared him out as he lines up in the slot to give an empty look with strength to the right, and the QB drops back, throwing the ball to the end zone to number 0, and that is caught! Touchdown, Aztecs! Number 0 again, AJ Carr, showing why he's a wide receiver for the GB Lions, with just a nice little slot fade there, wasn't it? Why is that such a difficult route to deal with in the red zone?
Particularly in the red zone, a lot of defenses will go for man coverage. I think we saw Solent there running a cover 0, so they were just flat out one-on-one. Any little crossing routes, particularly out to the outside corner, is always going to be difficult to stop, as we've just seen there.
Yeah, Aztecs are dialed in already, currently 19-0, looking to put up an extra point, or maybe not, as we saw earlier, as number 88 comes to kick the potential PAT. And they shift again, this time with a big boy in the backfield. They hand it off. Oh!
Over the top.
Well, they got me with the play action fake there, as number 5 lobs it in over the top to Sean Cook, number 12, the tight end. But there is a stoppage on the field as the referees have some things they would like to discuss. And I'm assuming it's not just dinner plans for later.
No, maybe just discussing whether people were covered from receiving on the line. Still waiting for the official signal.
And the 2-point has been awarded as the Aztecs are now leading this game 21-0. We are still here in the first quarter, but we are hopeful that Solent come out with a little bit of a punch. And I want Solent to keep doing well, but I'm interested into how did the Aztecs manage to stop that momentum they had on that drive? What were they doing on the back end? Because as soon as that pass came into the receiver, that receiver is swallowed up.
I think it's making sure that you've got, I'm just trying to think of the best way of putting it, to be honest. When they're looking to, like I said, have that defensive line almost play spilled, so they're trying to force the run to the outside to give freedom for any runners, and it does free up a lot of the defensive backs to be able just to concentrate on the receivers one-to-one or within their particular zone. On that particular drive, on the last drive for Solent, it stalled out basically because they played into that. A lot of the runs were looking to go outside, and the pass with the pass that was tackled straight away for a short gain. Maybe play design there when you're third and 14, 15. You want to be looking for something a little bit more than a couple of yards and cutting back.
Well, let's see how that continues to hold up through this game as we have a touchback on the kickoff, and Solent will be starting off their drive at, I believe, the 25. And this is a reminder, this is not Oxford Ground. This is Ding Crusaders Rugby Football Club down here in southwest Bristol, which is a lovely venue, a very hot venue, particularly in this metal sweatbox that we're very fortunate to be able to be in to get a lovely view of the entire field, though very hot for comfort. And you can see us up here. Hello, I am Tom. I'm the annoying voice on the broadcast. The lovely Manchester tones are from Dave to my right. And hiding himself away behind all the kit is Steve, who is keeping us alive and well, keeping us fed, giving us water, and letting us speak to our loved ones once every 2 hours.
Good behaviour.
As we're now in spread for Solent, sending number 82 in motion across the formation. And the ball is snapped poorly, and it's still bouncing around. And it looks like it could be an Aztec that's on it. They're calling for it as they're walking off.
It is recovered by Bristol, and this is the thing that we were talking about. The one thing you have to make sure of is if you're on the Solent team, make sure you're executing well. These little mistakes you can't let add up again and again. That's twice now the ball's been fumbled. These need to be cut out if they want to make sure that they're being competitive.
The bad news is it looks like it's going to be a very difficult game for Solent. The good news is we might get a running clock very quickly. Let's see how this plays out.
The one thing I will say about this sweatbox, I think we are at a disadvantage as the wind seems to be coming from behind us rather than in front, certainly making it a lot hotter than it should be.
Woe is me. I'll give you our Venmo in the comments in future weeks. And Bristol have come out in a different look this time. They're coming out with what looks to be a wing tight end look with a wide receiver opposite that strength. And they hand the ball off and they run a buck sweep out to the right. There's number 8, navigates the tackle and is brought down just short of the goal line, it looks like. That wing formation is really difficult to defend, right? Why does it put it under such stress when you've got those two tight ends on one side and receivers on the other?
It's just having those two extra blockers that normally you're not used to. Particularly as a defence, you'll tend to initially adjust when you see it by bringing, cornerbacks and defensive backs in. That when you're asking to go up against such a physical tight end, it's always going to be difficult. But especially again, it looked like number 77 had brought his way around. Almost if he may have pulled across to that side.
And number 12 goes and takes a sneaky handoff under centre after the motion, and they are mauling. I don't think he's got the yardage he was looking for. Very sneaky there. I couldn't believe how rude he was to interrupt you. They were breaking down the play.
No, but again, good work from Solent there. We mentioned a couple of times the offensive line for Bristol almost manhandling the front four Solent, but to stand them up there, only a gain of maybe half a yard. Again, certainly take that as a positive.
Yeah, it's going to be, if they can make a goal line stand here, that will be big for their momentum going forward. As we see number 78, the offensive lineman for the Aztecs, comes out and they rotate another lineman in. It looks like they're coming out with this wing formation again. Expect a run, but always expect something else, I guess, as well with this Aztecs offense. As they drop back to pass. And number 81 looks like he's hauled it in.
Oh, the ball's come out and hit the floor there.
Now they have called that a touchdown. Impressive touchdown catch there from number 81. Now, could you explain the rules a bit? Because to my eyes, I think if both players if they both come down with the ball, I believe the possession goes to the offense. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, normally does do. Yeah, I think the only thing that I was questioning there for a second or two was as they were fighting on the ground, the ball did pop out. But still having possession of the ball when your body's hit the floor, it's always going to be given in favour of the offence.
And that's a matchup you expect number 81 to win, Dondre Rucker, my apologies, who is a Huey Bullet, who's also got some experience across overseas, playing at Shaw University, and he is originally from Maryland. As the Aztecs come out for their PAT and switch to that formation with naked bootleg out there with a beautiful play fake by the number 5, Chris Green, who was previously on the Sport Tank commentary for the Apache Wyverns game earlier, coming out now, putting his kit on and pulling off a Peyton Manning-esque bootleg fake right there.
Yeah, I always enjoy looking at a bootleg, particularly from an offensive standpoint, just because you know that they've come out in that formation a few times. Solent will be trying to adjust to what they've seen before. They've seen a power run to one side, they've seen a pass over the top. Now they're showing the bootleg aspect again. They're just looking to use this game maybe to try some new things later on in the season and just try them against live opponents.
I mean, we want a competitive game always. However, I must admit, as an offensive purist, I love watching this Aztecs team and how they try and attack their defense. It's very strategic, it's very structured, the players are building off each other. We see them get in a formation and run different looks out of it consistently. If you were a Solent defensive coach, what would you be thinking of trying to do to take any of their options away?
The only thing that you're trying to do again is making sure that they're executing what they've got within their particular playbook. You can try as much as you can on game day itself, but this preparation must have started at least a week ago, possibly 2, to be able to make sure that you're getting film, you're trying to understand what's going on rather than trying to adjust on the fly. Particularly as this defense now will just need to, as a coordinator, you're trying to keep heads up, trying to not let heads drop, making sure that you're still trying to get stops. We've seen 3 drives now and 3 scores for Bristol. As a defensive coordinator, it's never what you want. If you can get 1, maybe 2, again, then you can start to get that momentum as we saw earlier in the Apache game. But at this moment in time, again, you're just trying to keep morale high. You're trying to keep things positive. As soon as you start getting on people's backs and shouting and screaming, it can certainly demoralise the team as a whole.
Well, let's hope to see them show some resilience here, maybe put some points on the board and just start stringing some drives together, because I think that's the big difference. They're getting very rested, this Aztecs defence, so it's a big challenge every time the Solent offence steps on the field. And they come out here with a spread formation, number 27, Sam Adesanya, back in the backfield. 16 goes in motion, and they run a toss to the left, and he's immediately swallowed up there by number 34 for the Aztecs. And it looked like they were trying to get a little bit of a lead blocker with the receiver there, but just wasn't quite able to open up the space on the outside.
And I must apologise there. It's 4 drives and 4 scores now for Bristol. 2 short fields. That's got to be one thing that Solent are looking to do here. Just take care of the ball. Even if you go in 4 and out and getting a punt away, you're just trying to make sure that you're not turning the ball over as has happened twice already.
Yeah, and it's those unforced errors. I always think interceptions, you can live with them, that's being aggressive. Fumbles, that's a little bit more of that's a difficult one to reason with. And now we're in spread again. Quarterback drops back, looks out to the side to David Peppers, and he is immediately tackled. And 3 people ganging up to try and rip the ball out from him there. And this Aztecs defense is just as feisty as their offense, isn't it?
Oh, of course, and it's great work from the 4 that were out there. There was 3 on the tackle, and also number 35 as well, covering the outside receiver, passing the receivers across very nicely, making sure that people are around the ball when he gets there.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult day for them. I think they're going to really need to start stressing them deep, because if these DBs are just able to sit back and play downhill and just are ready to just keep making tackles, just shorten the sticks and whatnot, then it's going to be very difficult for them to move the ball down the field at all. As Solent come out in spread again with the running back to the QB's left. He takes a snap and drops back, looking out to the left-hand side. He's on the scramble away from number 55 as he is swallowed up again by 3 Aztecs players. Just no receivers open as he wanted them to be, were there?
No, it looks like they're playing against this spread really quite well at Bristol at the moment, particularly because of the size that they've got up front. It does tend to take away the middle of the field if you can't really see over what's going on and you're trying to trust on timing. So it's allowing Bristol to almost play too deep at the moment and have those safeties covering anything else. They've just got to be able to get the time. If they want to attack deep, as we mentioned earlier, the O-line have to give them the time to get the ball off.
And the Solent are now lining up to punt, as number 9 and number 81 are back there ready to receive the kick for the Aztecs. Ball is snapped, good snap. Decent punt, and it looks like it's going to roll down.
That's definitely a Solent bounce.
And he goes all the way down to what looks to be about the 12, 13-yard line. Unfortunately, it's very hard to see the yellow markers for the yard lines on the field, but we can thankfully see with the...
we do have a flag,
we have
on
a
the
flag
play
in the
as well.
backfield. Let's see what the referee has called here. We definitely saw a nice little scrap on the sideline between the gunners, but let's see what if anything has reached a level of infringement. And if that wasn't clear on the stream, that is holding on the Bristol Aztecs number 52 during the return. So they will start quite close to the goal line now. It's a bit of an opportunity here for Solent, right?
Yeah, it's another penalty for the Aztecs. I think that's the third or fourth one today. Again, you've got to look at it in this one or two ways. You either look to try and attack it from the Solent aspect, or if you're on the other side for Bristol, it could be an opportunity to try and open up the field a little bit more, having more space in behind, maybe looking to attack deep.
Well, let's see how they approach this here. Who's going to be the more aggressive one, and is aggressive going to work? Let's see how Bristol come out. It looks like they're going to line up in a wing formation to the left, with both two tight ends on the left-hand side, and two wide receivers on the right-hand side, as they get themselves down and set, ready for the play. And they look like they're running that buck sweep, but they've got a bubble off of it, which they throw to number 81. And he's going to reverse field here, all the way across. And the flag in the backfield, it looks like it's definitely going to be a blindside block. But for the moment, he's going all the way up the sideline and out of bounds at what looks to be the 43-yard line. But I do expect that play will come back. Was it 1, 2, 3 or 4 blindside blocks you sort of saw along the back?
I think it was a hold from number 77. So the way that they were looking to do it, obviously they threw it as a bubble, so it looked more as if it was a run-pass option. They had both guards pulling to the left in order to create that space. And one of them, 77, that was out there as he's coming back across, didn't make full contact, but just reached out and, against the running back that was nowhere near, against the defender that's nowhere near the running back. It's a silly mistake to make.
It is, and I was impressed the play even developed that way, but then they just kicked themselves in the heel once again, and now moving back even further. Now, Solent are being quite aggressive here. You see that they brought down both the cornerback and it looked like their outside backer to press those tight ends, but then once you got two guards sweeping around the left, I don't think they're going to be able to hold up to that battle.
Yeah, and their safeties are playing really, really shallow at the moment, particularly against that wing set. They were only about 7 or 8 yards off, fully expecting the run, which obviously, even though it's a bubble to the other side, they've still got to support the run as it cuts back afterwards.
And now they line up with their Aztecs do with their wing formation to the right. You see those DBs backed off a bit, and they run it out to the left. And breaking is number 9. Down to what looks to be about the 10-yard line. Didn't look like they went with their buck run that time. Maybe just a bit of power with only one guard pulling across there.
Yeah, I think after taking that penalty, you're inside the 5. It looked like, again, very difficult to see the yellow lines at the moment. It does change it up exactly what you're going to be going for. So obviously looking for a bit more power and a bit more simplicity up front.
So now looking at 2nd and 6 here, looking to be staying with their wing formation as the quarterback calls number 81 in to give them a little bit of information before the snap, maybe making a little adjustment, and we'll see what they run here. And they fake the ball to the running back, and he looks to put 81 on a crosser, and he makes the play. Looks to be down at about the 43-yard line, although the other judges marked him down at about the 40. His knee seems to be going down, so he was rolling through the catch. Twice they've run play action, twice they've gone deep over the top, twice they've made big plays there. How can Solent try and take this away?
Yeah, I think they've concentrated so much on taking the run away from this double tight end formation, and like, as I mentioned before, bringing those safeties forward, having them so shallow, particularly when you're playing 2, it's always going to open up that seam in between the zones in the middle of the field. And again, it's very good coaching, very good execution from Bristol to exploit that.
And number 81, Dondre Rucker, there as he's now lined up in a stack formation. As they now go for a double handoff, as Sean Cook, number 12, is breaking through, and he gets down to about the 27. That was a very creative play with the handoff to the running back, then feeding it into the tight end as he runs behind a blocker.
It was almost like a reverse, but to the tight end. And when you've got someone of that size running with the ball, you know it's going to be difficult to stop. And another first down for Bristol.
It's very impressive that they're able to sequence these plays together and they're able to get complex plays called sort of hurry-up tempo offense. It must take a lot of practice week in, week out to get that kind of level of execution.
Oh, for sure. And what we've seen particularly early on is we've had with the 2-point conversions, you're looking as if you've got the same formation, but you're running different things from it. It makes it very difficult to stop.
And now they hand the ball off to number 9, Jacques Hall again, as he manages to break through for what looks to be a first down. Got to be really tricky there when you see that unbalanced formation, no eligible receivers to the right side, and all of your eligibles are on the left. How on earth is a defense meant to adjust to that kind of trickery?
Especially that quickly, it's very difficult. You've got to have something called in where you're automatically sending a blitz around the other side, or where there are no receivers, or making sure that your D-line are shifting. I think particularly in that instance, they then bring in the 2 guards coming in motion. Great blocks behind the line from number 77 and 74 there. Definitely made sure that the run was open for them.
And that is the end of the quarter there as we go to quarter 2. Players from both sides taking on water on this very warm day down here in Bristol, as the score is 29-0. Very hot start, very quick start from the Aztecs, but not a perfect start. There have been some mistakes. How do you see Solent getting back into this game, if you do see them getting back into this game?
The first thing that I'll say is you've got to take care of the football. There's been 2 turnovers from fumbles. Those unforced errors really need to be stopped. They've had a drive, but they've been able to gain regular yards, even though the first first down was from a penalty. Following on from that, they were able to gain 2 first downs. They were able to move the football, and they will take that as a positive. But those 2 fumbles, you really need to cut out in the rest of the game.
Well, let's hope they can look after that football. Hopefully they've wiped their hands off with a towel after getting their water. No slippery hands out here. They're going to look after the football and going to make it an interesting game for us, we hope. Though this Aztecs offense has been electric in the red zone. We saw them get they've been creative on their 2-point plays as well. Something tells me they're not quite done emptying their bag of tricks before maybe they start rotating players if they continue to put up scores here, as they look to be aligning in their wing formation. Slight wrinkle with number 81, Dondre Rucker, on the line as opposed to off the line in the slot. Let's see how they attack this here. QB number Louis Bailey dropping back, looks to his running back on the sideline, but doesn't quite find him. Good job taking away their players in coverage. Anything in particular you saw from Solent there that did that?
Good coverage deep. It's what was obviously missing on the long play earlier. But great coverage deep. Just needed to make sure that we're picking up that running back. It was the only open receiver, and you'd expect number 2 to be making that pass and hit his target.
Well, let's see if they can stop them here. Maybe that's a sign of things to come. Maybe Solent is just going to, the Aztecs just going to have to dig a little bit deeper into their play sheet to find a way into the end zone. As number 81 now flips over to the other side as they present a wing formation with split wide receivers. The running back, Jack Hall, is still in the backfield to the left, and he takes the handoff. Big block from number 71, opening up a lane, and he runs through, not quite a first down, looks to be about a yard or 2 short just there. These guards pulling around, they seem really disciplined in their lanes and being able to kick out rather than letting anything come through and penetrate there.
Yeah, it's been great work. Number 74 and 77 have been moving laterally very well, pulling off some big blocks, opening up some massive holes for these running backs, and definitely making life a lot easier for this Bristol offense.
And number 74 is Rashid Gimmery, and 77 Paul Potter. Both playing some excellent football. Both played football at university in the United Kingdom. So great to see us developing some fantastic linemen down here as they line up in that wing right formation again, hand it off to number 9, and he is swallowed up that time by big number 75 for Solent. That is not a jersey number we have on the roster. Welcome to Brickball, ladies and gents. We try our hardest. Can I call him the idiot without a jersey number? All right. We'll call him the very, very big giant. He's a bit of a unit out there. He is number 75. As it brings up 4th down. They're about, I would say, 3 yards short of the lines again, and it looks like they're going to bring their field goal unit out for what looks to be about a 25-yard attempt, although you never know, do we, with the Aztecs, as the last 3 times they've brought out their kicking unit, they have not kicked a kick. And once again, looked like they were pulling some trickery, but they didn't, and the kick is up, and good. So that now makes that 32-0. Good drive for Solent, all things considered.
It was, yeah, good drive for Solent as well, and good for them there not to jump. Obviously, when you've changed from your field goal unit and not kicked 3 times in a row, you sometimes do expect to jump if there's a little movement again, looking like they're going to shift. We'll say I love the little pirouette from the guys on the end of the line there for Bristol, looking to get some sort of movement, which obviously would have given them a first down. But again, you're staying disciplined, and that's what Solent will look at as a positive.
I'm sure Andy Reid is smiling somewhere. Maybe he needs to come and watch Britball special teams for some inspiration for his future plays.
The one good thing about that as well is that his moustache won't get frozen in this weather.
Instead, it'll probably be quite hot and muggy as we are getting some surprisingly warm British weather, and it's very warm on the field as well, noticeably warmer than where we were earlier in the day at the SGS Wise campus for the Bristol Apache versus Somerset Wyverns game, which you can re-watch on YouTube should you wish, feeling like you missed out on something there. And we now have a touchback as Solent look to get the ball at their own 20 and want to go and drive down the field. So, just a correction, number 75 is not the big idiot that didn't have his jersey number on the roster. His name is in fact Jack Bradford. Thank you very much for pointing that out on the stream. And if there's anything else you'd like to point out on the stream, please do comment on YouTube or Facebook. We will do our best to get to it, but unfortunately, my reading is not ideal, as you can probably hear. So we'll just do our best. Hopefully Steve will be able to translate for me.
Almost, you saying that they're going to be commenting in a foreign language if he's translating for you?
No, I'm not very good at English.
Ah, fair enough.
As Solent come out here in a 2-back set, and they hand the ball off to number 27, lead blocked by number 4, David Peppers, and this time it was swallowed up there. Bristol Aztecs defense is ready for those runs in those 2-back sets, it seems.
Yeah, staggering those safeties a little bit, so you've almost got, instead of just kind of having 2 people split in the half, bringing one a little bit closer to the line, particularly where they're expecting that run. That's where the run went. It just means that they're able to provide run support a lot easier.
It seems to be a big handful to try and take care of those defensive linemen up front, and then even if you're able to take care of them, there's still another 7 players on the field that you've got to account for if you're going to get any yards in the run game. As they now switch to a spread formation, running back to the QB's right this time. QB drops back, looks to throw that quick out, and it's picked off by number 16. That is Ryan Boatek of the UE Bullets making that pick there, that safety over the top. Number 3 came in to make the play. Joe Cassidy broke it up. Number 16 brings the ball in. What went wrong there?
Yeah, it's great play from the defensive backs. Even though they're running spread, we mentioned before that if you can't throw it across the middle of the field, then you only have to defend the boundary. Bristol coming out, almost looking at cover 2 to then maybe shaping to cover 4 if people drop back. But when you're running this kind of deep route, underneath route, you've got to make sure that people are open. And there's great decision making from this Bristol side, being in the right spot to make the play.
And we want to see that quarterback, Will Jameson, maybe needs to challenge a little bit deeper so that those underneath passes open up a bit more. As the Aztecs come back out with the football, this time on about the 21-yard line, as they look to be lined up in spread with a tight end to the right as well. 86 in motion, takes the jet handoff. He's got some space, out to the left, and he's going through. Looks like he's going to get to the end zone, and touchdown! Bristol Aztecs. That is number 86 with the touchdown run. Jermaine Brown of the UE Bullets may have that jet sweep there. Such a difficult play to defend a jet sweep, especially off that little pop pass handoff. What makes it such a challenging play to defend?
Well, I think what makes it most challenging is having the receivers out there to do the great blocking job that they've just done, making sure that channel, that hole is open wider for him to cut the ball up and get positive yardage, and it didn't look like he got touched until he was at the goal line. It's great execution from this Bristol offence.
One thing I've noticed there was those receivers, they were coming in and they were crack blocking. Instead of blocking heads up, they were blocking against the grain, which just makes it that much easier to run your way into the end zone. And so the Aztecs have now got into running clock territory. Let's see if they can put up the PAT or 2-point attempt, which they seem to be shifting into now. Hand off to number 38 as he makes his way through for the 2-point conversion right there.
I believe that was 88.
It was 88.
Yeah.
My mistake. That was Spencer Cutland. And the score is now 40-0.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I've been reminded that we don't go into the running clock until the second half. So more time, I guess, for Solent to try and mount a comeback. I guess if they're going to start, now would be a good time.
It would be. Steve definitely just beat me to that there. I was biting the tip of my tongue. But yeah, again, you just want to make sure that they're executing well and limiting the turnovers. We've seen 3 turnovers now for Solent. They need to maybe get back to basics a little bit, run the ball a little bit more, look at the middle of the field when they're going on these passes, because these safeties for Bristol are playing very, very, very wide, leaving that middle of the field open, which means that any sort of post, any sort of crossing route should be a little bit further open. It'll be interesting to see if they can take advantage of the space that they've got.
Maybe some play action from that 2-back set might be a way to unlock some explosives, because those explosives are what's important, right? If you can't get explosives, then the chances of scoring a touchdown are much less than when you are able to get those 20-yard plays. There's a much shorter kick than previously to the 10, which he's let roll into the end zone. We talked about how important special teams were to potentially get the ball moving and wake up this offense. Interesting that with a shorter kick they passed up that opportunity.
Yeah, I think maybe he was looking to see if the bounce would send it off the field in order to get better field position. But yeah, I think, you know, starting from the 20 again, it gives you more space to work. Can work things a little bit deeper if you're able to. I do want to see this Solent offense now really start to work, especially in the pass game, somewhere other than the flat, somewhere other than the outside, because this Bristol defense is very, very strong in defending those areas.
Yeah, it feels like anything that's underneath them that they can get their eyes on, they can play. They're not going to miss those.
Yeah, particularly when they're lining up in any sort of spread formation, which they aren't. Well, which they are doing again now. You'll see that the defenders for Bristol will cover the flats really easily.
And their QB's dropping back there, throws the ball out to number 23, it looks like, or potentially 28. We'll see when he gets his way back into the huddle. It's been a bit of a tough one for Will Jameson so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Again, it's always going to be one of those that you're trying to make sure that you're executing. But again, this is one of the top teams in the UK at the moment. You know, the last few seasons, you could definitely say one of the top 4 teams, probably top 3 teams. You've just got to make sure that you're taking the positives from every drive.
Yeah, well, let's see if they can build on some of the good things that they had in their game. As they got a new running back in the backfield, Deshaun Brown-Marshall. Let's see what they can do here as Will Jameson drops back, puts the ball up on the sideline to number 23, who almost gets his hands to it, but that is very quickly broken up by number 19 for the Aztecs right there, Jamie Penny. And we saw him take a shot on the outside. Looked like he might not quite have had the arm strength to stick it in there, but overall, he looks like a QB that's got some tools and maybe has the ability to push the ball down the field.
Yeah, again, it's another one of those attacks down the outside, which, as we've seen before, the way that Bristol seems to be running against this spread is they will have 2 people sitting shallow, will have 1-on-1 to the outside. It does leave such a big gap open in the middle of the field. I'm just waiting for them to exploit that, if I'm honest with you.
Well, let's see if this will be the play here as they come out in a trips formation with an offset tight end and the running back to the QB's right. Quarterback drops back to take the snap. Ball's thrown out to the corner as they try to throw the ball to 82. Paul Brady looked to be running a corner. Interesting depth, I would say, on that route, and not quite ready for the ball to be thrown his way.
Yeah, it was strange. It almost looked like the defensive back had hold of his arm there as he was going for the catch. But obviously deemed either just in time or uncatchable for them. But I think they were almost trying to run kind of slants and then outside fades, almost not quite a corner, but just to provide that crossing aspect to try and attack this zone for Bristol's.
Well, as we know, the referees are always right, and there was no flag there, so exactly. I can't imagine that it was defensive pass interference. Good call, as always, by our BAFA refs. And Solent are now setting up to punt. I thought they heard me and were going to eject me. It seems to be a uniform infringement, so they will be making a quick rotation before we punt the ball away.
Yeah, shouts of gum shield from the sideline. Surely that should be the part of equipment that you desperately need.
Well, he seems to have one in, so I wonder if maybe it was a helmet strap or something. But anyway, we'll leave him to look after his kit as we focus on what's going on the field, as number 41 is punting the ball away. Decent punt over midfield. Ball stops pretty much dead as it's recovered by 81. And he breaks through the middle, breaking tackles. Lots of blindside blocks here by the looks of it. We have multiple players down as he runs into us, touchdown, but I think that will be coming back.
Yeah, there's at least two flags coming down. Definitely raining yellow early on. I think that's, you know, another play where we've had, I think that's 4 or 5 now that Bristol have had where if they were, you know, if this was September, if this was August, those would definitely get punished a lot more, and it should be something that as coaches, as a team, you really need to make sure that you're not taking these flags.
And this is a play in particular that we see a lot. We see a lot of blindside blocks as we see the head coaches coming out to the field to discuss this, and I can very much understand it because it is one of the more dangerous plays that we have in this game. And how can players achieve the goal that they're looking for? They are trying to take that player away from the play, but obviously if you come back with your full force against theirs that's running in the opposite direction, it obviously opens yourself up to lots of dangerous injuries such as whiplashes and concussions. How can players make that play, or do they need to make that play?
At the end of the day, when you're looking at where some of these flags are in comparison to where the run is, there's maybe one that was near where the runner was. Another one that's on the far side of the field, as we see now, is so far away from where the play is, it's just needless. As a way of maybe trying to stop it from happening, position yourself in a certain way that you're allowing them to turn around so you're able to, so they can see you when you're making that block. At the end of the day, it's something that's there for player safety on both sides. This is an amateur sport that people are, you know, they're going to work tomorrow. You actually want them to go to work tomorrow and not end up with concussions, with head injuries. It has to be something that as a team, that as coaches, you're telling people just not to do.
And I would like to let anybody in the live chat know if they have a problem with that. Tell me your experience on the blindside block, and you might feel a bit differently. I know it's a play that a lot of people complain about. Everybody wants to make that play, but you are correct. Somebody's not going to be able to walk up the steps to get into their office tomorrow, and you know, we obviously want to avoid that. As we take a little bit of a delay here. It's been a bit of a one-sided game so far. That's a bit of an understatement. It has been a one-sided game so far, and the Aztecs have shown no sign of taking their foot off the gas. But let's talk a little bit to this Solent team. What have Solent been doing in this game that has worked well? And what have been their challenges so far?
Yeah, I think they've been getting some good plays from that two-back set that they've been coming out with on offence, opening up some holes when they've been able to exploit where the space is. The passing game hasn't been great for them. A lot of the times the receivers are being swallowed up by the defensive backs, and there's a lot of pressure coming from the Bristol side. On defence, they've done quite well at kind of stopping the regular plays, like as we saw earlier on in the Apache game. Apache were able to run the ball 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, able to constantly gain yardage that way. What this Solent side is doing at the moment is that they're able to limit those. There's a lot of kind of 0, 1, 2 yard plays that as a defence you will take. They just now need to concentrate, cut out some of these bigger splash plays that Bristol have been able to get. Again, as the head coach was saying earlier, try and make it more competitive.
And do you think that we talked earlier about how Solent have to have a next man up mentality and trying to get players up to speed? Do you think that might be limiting them on either side of the ball in terms of what they're able to, how they're able to attack, what they're able to go to, maybe the counters they have in their back pocket?
Yeah.
Some players might not be up to speed with that.
Maybe, but at the end of the day, it's something that, you know, a lot of teams now are starting to train in January. You know, a lot of teams are looking to develop playbooks as they move forward, and you know, Solent, after coming up a couple of years ago, are obviously developing things moving forward each year. So you'd expect them to have things up to speed.
Well, let's see if they can figure things out here. Is a handoff here to number 22, and he breaks through straight away as he's down the sideline. Looks like he's going to go into the end zone. One play, one touchdown for Solent. For the Bristol Aztecs right there, as number 22, Rob Ogborn, rushes in for a touchdown there. It seems like this Solent team might be struggling for legs at this point. Explain what happened on that touchdown just then.
It's just some great blocking up front. You know, I don't think that the running back was touched there all the way up the sideline. Great gap. Almost looks as if it was kind of an off-tackle run. But again, having linemen in motion will certainly allow you to open up gaps. And again, hats off to this Bristol O-line, dominating things moving forward as
They
usual.
really are, and they've got the skill position players to match them. Clearly able to finish off these plays in style as they come out for a PAT attempt, potentially.
We only got one pirouette this time.
Oh, and the ball is bad snap. Number 88 takes it outside. He's looking to make a throw, and it's picked off. And he is downed, and they at least come away with only 6 points instead of 7 or 8. So if you're Solent, there is this little bit of hope, although it does feel a little bit as though the Aztecs are toying around and playing with their food at the moment, doesn't it?
It does a little bit, but again, it's something that as a player you can start to relax a little bit now. If you weren't doing before the game, you're definitely more relaxed now than you were before. One thing I'd be saying as a coach at this point, making sure that errors like that aren't happening. Where the Aztecs are aiming for, you know, the top of the game this year, they're trying to push, you know, your Manchesters, your Londons. Tamworth's not to as big of an extent this year, but they're trying to push their way at least to get to a final and to win something that's to win the Brit Bowl. That's got to be the aim of this coaching staff and this team. Cutting out the errors, cutting out the penalties, cutting out the bad snaps. You've got to make sure that that's happening.
So for this Bristol team, coming off a tough 3-point loss to the Warriors, is a game like this that maybe feels a little bit looser as a coach? Are you happy for things to be a bit looser? Are you happy for a play like that to develop? Or are you a little bit more getting on them, making sure that they're staying disciplined, reminding them of the overall mission, and they need to be ironing things out?
It all depends on how you have your team set up. A lot of teams will set up differently. I know personally, I always try and make sure that people are enjoying themselves, because then you tend to get the best out of everybody. As we see the return coming down the right-hand side, looking around the 20-yard line for Solent.
It does indeed, and that was number 83, Alex Bruce, with the rush there. And the ball will be started at about the 20. Unfortunately, went through all of that effort for the result of a touchback. And let's see what this Solent offense can bring. Definitely some tired legs up there. Let's see if they can try and move the ball and finish strong. We see them attacking the outsides on the passing game, not quite having the success that they want. Mixed feelings in the run game. Sometimes they're making some plays. Seems like Bristol adjusted to their immediate sort of adjustment from the opening whistle. Be interesting to see how they come out here and attack this as they break the huddle with number 36. That is DeJohn Brown Marshall in the backfield to the QB's right as they are lining up in spread. They motion in number 16, Will Harding, across the formation. And the ball is snapped over the quarterback's head, who has to get just down on it.
Another one of those errors that you've got to make sure that aren't there. At the end of the day, that's a loss of what looks like about 10, 15 yards. You're now back inside your own 5. And you've got 25 yards in order to be able to move the sticks, and it makes this job almost impossible now.
It is very tough. There's something psychological when you've got your heels in the end zone as a QB and the running back. It just puts that extra level of pressure on you, because you know a mistake here and there's almost guaranteed to be points.
Yeah, and as a defensive lineman as well, you take those extra little twitches to make sure your feet are in the dirt to get that fast response time off as soon as you see that ball snapped.
So Solent in trips to the left with a tight end off the line as they look to throw the ball over to 83, and the ball is incomplete. He feels like there may have been a whistle there. Sorry, I apologise. Number 82, that's Paul Brady. He feels like he should have maybe earned a flag on that. To me, it looked very bang. Maybe the ball was past him after he got hit. What did you see?
Yeah, I think the ball was slightly past him, and it's one of those when you are running across the middle so shallow, it can always happen, really.
We wanted to see them attack the middle of the field. When you do, it's better to go a bit deeper. You attack the middle of the field where linebackers are lurking, and I don't know if you've ever met a linebacker, but one thing they don't like is receivers.
No, of course. One thing I've always learned is linebackers will always have fun playing fullback for that same reason as well.
And we see them line up now in a spread. It's third and a bus ride, as a referee likes to call it before. 16 in motion across the formation. He runs out to the flat and the ball is thrown directly at his feet. It seemed like they were trying to get a 3-level stretch there, a little flood play going, but once again, getting a clean pass off, being able to go through reads without the D-line ending up in your lap seems to be a big challenge for the quarterback
I
here
think
today.
he's looked to the right side there as they motioned across. They have got a 3-on-2 situation, but their 2-on-1 situation was further down the field. They should have been looking there to attack the safety and make him make the wrong decision.
It's a tough game, this sport, because it's all about matchups. It's all about there's 11 players on each side of the field. There's 22 players in all, but all that matters is one, really, when you start looking at concepts and stuff like that. Have you seen any players on this Aztecs defense that they could actually be looking at to put in conflict, where you can say, this is a guy that I actually want to attack? I think that we have an advantage here.
When you've got a unit that's playing as dominant and as together as this, it's very difficult to pick out one person. It doesn't look too much like they've rotated massively, but they're still looking to maintain this shutout win as things are standing at the moment.
Well,
I wouldn't particularly look to attack one particular player. I'd try and look for gaps in the system that they're running.
that makes sense. And have you seen any of those? Which I must admit, it's very difficult to see any holes in their coverage or in their run fits. But have you seen anything?
Like I said, I've said it a couple of times before, deep over the middle is the only hole that seems to be there. A lot of times within British American football, the pass game does tend to look to the sidelines, tends to be in those outside.
Oh, and we got a fake here as number 41 starts to run down the sideline, and he looks like he's going to be stopped. He made a good move on the first one, but he didn't quite look as shifty as a running back, let's say. Number 41 there, Louis Mokes. I hate to break his dream that he could be a star running back, but I don't quite think he's got the feet for it.
Some great hot step in though, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to look great in the photos. Oh. In the video, it didn't quite look as I was hoping. I imagine he was hoping it did, but on the in the photos, he's going to look like he did a great job.
Exactly, it's a lot to ask when you're running a fake on 4th and 25. But yeah, it's giving good field position to Bristol again. Not sure whether I would have called that if I was the Solent coordinator, that's for sure.
You never know, he might not have called it.
Might not have done.
Well, let's see how they come out here. So they're coming out with trips to the right are the Aztecs. They seem to have rotated their receiving core around. Offensive line is staying in as before. Then they hand the ball off. Number 31 immediately breaking through. Rumbles and stumbles into a couple of players. And he's awarded a touchdown.
There was a
Number 31, that is Joey Asamoah in for the touchdown.
And great work up front again from the offensive line, both guard and tackle from the left, pulling around the rest of the offensive line. First one kicks out, second one lead blocks, and then when you've got, a running back the size of number 31 there, it's always going to be difficult to stop in open field.
I really like that little timing step he did there to the left, Joey Asamoah, just to set himself up so when he got the ball in his hands, he was flowing behind those guards that were pulling around. The Aztecs were really putting on a clinic in terms of how to run gap scheme run plays.
For sure, and it wouldn't surprise me now if we see them, because they're starting to rotate a lot more, see them go back to their bread and butter, see them go back to the things that they do a lot of the time. They've tried some stuff with their first team offense that they've seen that's worked against Solent. Maybe they don't want to put that on film for any future opponents that they have.
That would make sense to me, and we've seen this quite a lot. So a lot of teams over in this country, they often run inside zone, outside zone. There's not a lot of movement from their linemen, but the Aztecs do something different. They're trying to block all of their players away, and then they're bringing some players around from the backside to come and kick those players out and make some lanes up the middle. Why does the gap scheme work, and how do you have to defend it differently to your standard zone runs?
Yeah, I think it's something that we're starting to see towards the top of the game. I know it's something that Manchester have been doing. I know it's something that Bristol do. I know it's something that London do. I know it's something that Tamworth were doing when they were at the top of their game, and they'll still be running now. Having offensive linemen that can run laterally really is a headache for a defence unless you're able to outmuscle them and outmatch them. And as we're seeing here, it's not been easy for Solent so far when they are moving laterally on that front offensive line.
And so to talk it through for some of our younger players, we might have some university students that maybe they've had 1 or 2 seasons of uni ball experience. Maybe they still haven't been exposed to some of these bigger different schemes. Oh, and they've gone for a QB sneak to their defensive lineman, number 96, punching it through to finish off the drive with 8 points. That looked like it was Tio to me, taking that under centre handoff and just mauling through. And the Aztecs are really running a mockery of us now at 54-0. So to go back to that point, so when you're defending zone, if you're a linebacker and let's say you're over the B gap and that's your run fit gap, how does that change when it's a gap scheme and maybe those gaps are being condensed up front and the points of attack are very different to in the zone?
It's whether gaps are being condensed or gaps being moved, particularly if you're moving the guard and the tackle from one side of the field to the other. You've got to make sure that you're aware of that and you're able to run around and fill the correct gap that's there for it. But not only that, getting the right reaction from the side that those people are pulling from. Again, it's a lot easier if you have the front four to be able to deal with those five and make the play and then have everyone else sweeping around. At the moment, maybe due to the heat, maybe due to the numbers, maybe due to just the general size, it is looking like Solent are finding it very difficult to do so because of how tired they'll be, because it has been very grinding up front for them. And yeah, I think it'd be grinding even if we were out on the field against this offensive line at the moment.
I think you might be right. It is a hot day out there, and they are matched up against who I would say probably one of the in the top three teams in the country at the moment, as they go to kick the ball off. And it's a much shorter kick to 20. The number 41 there, recovering the ball, and he's marching through as he takes it to about a third. But the ball slips out. But it looks like Solent recovered that straight away.
Yeah, it looks like it has been recovered by Solent, looking to start this drive from the 29-30 yard line maybe.
So that was Louis Mokes again with that reception. Always love it when a man in the second row gets that kick return and sees his moment of glory. Not quite as glorious as maybe he was hoping, but good on him to get that 10 yards.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever fair catching that either, that's for sure.
Fair catches are for horses, aren't they? So let's see what Solent can do here on about the 30-yard line. I just want to get a first down at this point, I'm assuming.
Start linking some plays together, making sure that you're gaining some yards. Like I said, get one or two first downs and you'll take it as a positive drive.
And their motion, number 16, Will Harding, again, looks like a illegal motion as he was moving forward at the snap, but uncalled as number 27, Sam Adesanya, breaks through many tackles for 5 yards. He came up very excited about that play, and that's a positive start. Yeah, second and 5, dream position for them right now.
Yeah, positive start and good blocking on the outside as well. It looked like the Bristol Falls players that are trying to force that run back inside were maybe a little bit too deep, making those gaps a lot bigger and just automatically making that hole for the running back.
And we saw that the Aztecs defense, at this point, almost ignoring that motion because they haven't really done any evolutions from it.
Yeah.
We see that come back to haunt them a bit later if they keep leaning into that?
Quite possibly. They did have a good motion into a flood play earlier that could have, with the right decision, would have made bigger yards.
And they hand the ball off to Sam Adesanya again, lead blocked by number 0, Rowan Milner there, but this one swallowed up. It seems like that ISO block is working, but they're just not able to hold up from penetration from the rest of the D-line.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got one or two offensive linemen in your own backfield on a run play, it's always going to be difficult to make yards from it. We need to make sure that we're getting low, we're driving on this offensive line and making sure that we're not being manhandled by this front four. That front four will be there to cause as much chaos as possible. That will be their job. If you're allowing them to do that, it's always going to be difficult to make yards.
Indeed it is, as they come out in trips to the left with a tight end off the ball. Quarterback dropping back to snap, looks straight out to number 23, who looked to be hitching just beyond the sticks there, but the quarterback could not get a clean catch, drop onto that first step to release the ball out there.
Yeah, it seemed to be given some time from the offense as well, but it looks like there's only one person over there. Looks like there's only one receiver over there, and that's your only read. It makes it a lot easier for a defense to react to.
We always think that a 6-7 yard throw is easy. As soon as you push it outside the numbers, that's a deep throw that's got to be executed very quickly. Yeah. And it's very much pick 6 territory if the ball's thrown inside at all. So it seems like a low risk play, but very quickly that can change, can't it? And it looks like Solent are calling for a timeout there, not quite ready to punt the ball away immediately, and we will take a short break before we have 4th and 4, which looks to be a punt, and the Aztecs are set up to return it with their number 9 and number 81. Number 9, Jack Hall, back for receive, and number 8. So that is TJ Jones, 2 UE running backs, both from the States previously, and I would say, which one would you kick to? I don't think you want to kick to either of them, right?
Absolutely neither of them. The one thing that's been good from the punting so far from Solent is the spin that they're getting on the ball is allowing it to take a favourable bounce. And we'll see if he continues to almost roll it down his leg to get that forward spin.
Well, he's caught the ball one-handed, and he flips it forward pass, so that is incomplete. Do you think that was a design play there?
I don't think it was, but I think it was a really good heads-up play, to be honest. Saved them, making Bristol earn those extra 10, 15 yards that it would have been a loss for. But again, it's those unforced errors, that high snap. Need to be making sure they're executing things better, and it's these things that will be being picked up rather than the scoreline from the Solent coaches.
We thought it was special teams might have been an area they could make some really positive plays and change the game. Seems that so far it's actually been quite tough for them to execute there.
It has. They've had a good couple of kick returns, one good punt from memory. It's something that they will take as a positive. But again, moving forward, it's just these unforced errors. These are the things that will get picked up at training later on, early next week.
And so the Aztecs coming back out in their wing formation, strength to the right, and it looks to be a throw out to the sideline to, I believe, number 5, Chris Green, there with the reception. That RPO is very smooth. The running back's not interfering with the QB's footwork. It's got to be really difficult to defend when all of these plays look the same.
Yeah, and that's what the RPO's there to be designed for, is to have multiple ways of running different plays while making them look exactly the same. And it's just very, very well executed by the Bristol Aztecs.
And so now they've come out stacking their receivers to the other side. And this time they hand the ball off, and they give that reverse handoff there again to number 29 this time, instead of Sean Cook, number 12. So that's a handoff to the tight end, Connor Day. And they've got some wrinkles to this offense. Lots of different formations, lots of different creative ways to run it, but it all comes down to the same principles, that kick wrap. How much easier is it to develop an offense when you've got those foundational things that you're using play to play?
It opens up so much more. If you've got those foundations down, it means that you've got options to run little reverses with tight ends, to run screens and make everything look the same. As a pass goes over the middle to number 13.
And that is David Asamoah. Touchdown over the middle on that post off that play action. We talked about how play action and throwing over the deep might be of benefit to Solent, and I think that's the third time I want to say that's worked well for the Aztecs. What is it about play action that opens up those opportunities down the field?
It automatically brings the safeties down as if they're going to be there for run support before then getting them to go back and realise that there's someone behind them. Making sure, as a defensive coordinator here, the first thing I'd be saying is just kind of ignore the play action aspects, ignore everything in the backfield, make sure that you're able to view off what that receiver's doing first before you're then looking inside. It's very difficult as a player, and it takes a very special player to be able to do it well if you're run supporting and being able to drop back that deep. But it's something that you'll see a lot of time across British American football, is attacking that middle. If you can do it well, you'll be successful.
I believe it was Chip Kelly who said if they're not pulling a guard, it's not play action. So when you just see that little flash there, you've got to be disciplined. Don't put those eyes in the backfield. Look for those big boys moving. If those big boys aren't moving, don't do anything. If they do move and you bite, well, I guess they just got you that day.
Yeah, I always talk about heels and toes. You can always tell from an offensive lineman what they're doing. If they're on their toes, it's likely to be coming straight at you. If they're on their heels, then you've got to be looking for those receivers.
Always makes me laugh when you see a photo of two guards and one of them's got their hand nice and light, one of them's got their hand right in the dirt, and you always get, which one's pulling, I guess? And as that score and PAT takes us to 61-0 in favour of the Aztecs. Still here in the second quarter, still not yet to reach the 2-minute warning. We might see triple digits here.
It could possibly be. Everyone enjoys a double burger when it's on your side. It'll be interesting to see if that's what they're particularly aiming for here.
Well, in fairness, I don't believe Bristol is a million miles away from Solent, so when they do return home, hopefully they don't have too far to travel and lick their wounds. But unless we see something we've never seen before in a 60-odd point comeback, this is going to be a very difficult second half for them as they kick off. Short again, number 41, bringing that ball in again, receiving the ball well still, and he's breaking up the sideline, and he's walked down right again at the 31, I must say. Impressive reception there. I've seen many kick returners not catch the ball as cleanly as that. So impressive, versatile skill set for a linebacker.
Indeed, it seems strange. I think that's 3 or 4 kicks in a row that they've kind of kicked it short. It'd be interesting to see if in Bristol's kicking game whether they're looking to attack particular gaps, particular areas. You know, there could be points that they're looking to maybe kick to number 41 because they know that you can catch it. They know that they're liable to be able to make a tackle and it not go deep. Especially after those good long kick returns early, might be something that they're thinking about. They're maybe just trying to attack the space with each kick that they take.
Well, let's see if they can take advantage of the field position they have here as they send number 16 in motion again across the formation. No movement from the defence. They run a toss out to number 22, who is immediately swallowed up right there. Looked like they just could not get any blocks on the outside.
Yeah, like I said, 74 there needs to be putting in a lot more effort. Even when you're so far down, these are the drives that you want to be making sure that you're driving, making sure that you're putting in that effort, because it's something that will still come up on film. If I was an offensive line coach, I wouldn't be too happy with the way that he's gone to drive there, because he's almost been beaten by the guy and then just left him. And he's the key block in that play.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll be able to regroup at half-time and they'll be able to iron out some of those execution errors as we go into the second half. But for now, we're at the 2-minute warning. Solent will be hoping to mount a big drive to get the momentum rolling and just bring some energy into half-time as they start off by lining up in trips to the left with a tight end off the ball. Receiver on the backside being pressed up. Quarterback drops back, looks straight towards him. Number 82 on the slant for about a 15-yard gain, I want to say, making it 3rd and 2. Nice play there, just a nice quick slant, ball's in his hands quickly, gets him into 3rd and manageable.
Nice play, good play. Where was it? Over the middle, somewhere deeper behind the linebackers. It's the one space that seems to be there on this Bristol defence, and some great work up front in pass protection by the offensive line for Solent, giving the quarterback the time in order to make that pass over the middle.
Are you a brick ball team and been struggling to move the ball? Well, Dave has just offered his consulting services mid-game, so any of you that get a little bit jammed up, maybe have a couple 3 and outs, he's your man if you want to know where to attack. As Solent come out again, hand off the ball this time to number 22, and he's swallowed up again. This D-line is really making it tough here as we get a few little afters from number 3 and number 83. I think they've probably got a bit bored on this sideline. Not a lot's been going their way.
Wouldn't surprise me.
As we now see, I apologise, the sticks were a little bit confusing to me earlier. I thought we were looking at 3rd down on this one, but it seems to be potentially 3rd and short now. Let's see what they rule. I think it's 3rd and short. Yes, we all seem to be in agreement. It's 3rd and short here.
I think it's 4th. It's just turned
and they
it
have
over.
just turned it over.
I was
so
trying to
it
work
is.
it out, to be honest.
God, they're fooling me. I knew I was on. I thought I was on it, and I was like, hang on a minute. Okay, so we're in trips with a tight end off the ball and the running back to the quarterback's right. Hand off, straight up the middle, and it looks like he
it
just
is a first.
about got it.
Yeah, some great work, some quick feet, making sure that he's able to find the gap there. Gains the 2 yards and then an extra 2 in order to get that first down. Great work from the running back.
And we were talking a little bit about how the offensive line was struggling. Number 55 there broke through, but wants to get caught up in that combo to manage to take care of him and open up a gap for him. And that play will take us to the end of the first half. The score currently 61 Aztecs, 0 to Solent Thrashers. Obviously, game looks a little bit out of hand. How do you think Solent's going to be able to make it a game, or at least show positives that they could potentially make it a game?
Again, I think it's the same for both sides. In games like this, you love to make sure that you're executing things well. But when we say executing, it's not necessarily running the plays that work, because with scorelines like this, with teams that are so disparate in their athletic ability, it's certainly more looking at making sure that the unforced errors aren't being there. I think Solent will be unhappy at the fumble turnovers that they've had. I think there was 2 turnovers from the offense, 1 on special teams that they managed to recover. But from the Bristol side of things, there's been numerous stupid penalties. That I know that if I was a coach there, I'd be happy that the scoreline's there for it, but I'd certainly be picking that up, making sure that we're not getting any penalties in the second half.
Well, that sounds like a good game plan to me. Well, we are going to leave you for a bit of a break. Steve has said that we've earned a little break, so he's going to let us out of the box for all of about 10 minutes, and then we'll be back with you after the break. But just before we go, we will remind you that if you are somebody that doesn't always know what's going on, then firstly you should subscribe to us on YouTube so that you can always see what Britball games are coming up, and make sure you hit that notify me button. Make sure that you are getting that notification so that you know when we are going live, which is often every weekend, because there's always a lot of Britball to cover. So we will be back in about 15 to 20 minutes here in Bristol. Handle those balls as a QB. Tries to put the ball in the stomach. Seems to catch off his hip potentially.
I think he saw some of the pressure coming through from the defensive line as well, quite possibly. As it seemed like there wasn't any nudges or anything on the handoff itself. He's just lost his grip of it as he's tried to pull it back there and pull it in to maybe roll out to his right hand side.
So we were looking for them to maybe use that play action, try to take some shots. Seems to be a bit challenging for do on that particular play there. Let's see what they have in their bag of tricks here as they line up in trips with a tight end off the line. Quarterback drops back, looks for the ball over the middle, and number 30 lets number 0 know that he is there even if the ball is nowhere near him, and it looks like they're going for 3 and out already.
Yeah, looking to potentially punt it with is that a different punter? I'm sure it's number
Yes, it is. That is number 56, James Burton.
But yeah, again, trying something that we've not seen from that first half. 0 looking for the ball straight away. Again, maybe not the right decision there for it, but Yeah, it's getting on top of that fumble was the main thing for Solent
And
there.
a bad punt there, under a lot of pressure. Ball is rolling though, and it looks to be downed around the 34-yard line there, spotted at 35. And we see the Bristol offence coming out, this time with a new quarterback there, Alfie Burks of the University of Bournemouth. And it looks like they've rotated their players over quite a bit. Starters probably getting a healthy dose of rest, but that offensive line still all out there. Something different about offensive linemen, isn't it?
Yeah,
They can just
still with the two guards that have been putting in a lot of work, number 77 and 74, still manning this line. But again, they'd have been rotating throughout the first half as well to make sure they're not getting too tired in this heat.
And so they'll come out with their wing formation with the strength to the right, two wide receivers out to the left, and the running back number 31 in the backfield. And they hand that ball off to him as they run that buck sweep to the right, and he's running, trying to break tackles, and he's down about the 10. As there's some afters on the far sideline. Number 21 is beefing. And it looks like he will definitely draw the flags, but I can't imagine that it was a one-sided fight. They rarely are they?
It's unsure where that first flag came from. There's obviously been reactions afterwards, and they always say to never react because then you'll tend to get the flags. But I think there was a couple of reactions there rather than just one. We'll see what the referees do call it here.
If the referees call anything other than 15 yards against Solent, I will be surprised because I've never seen them actually get the initial offender. It's always the reactor, and that man was ready to go 2-on-1 just then.
With the two different flags, though, it wouldn't surprise me if they do offset them, but we'll see what happens.
Let's find out. We'll see. But coming straight out of the gate there, Bristol just immediately went straight to their buck sweep run to the strong side of the formation and immediately found success straight away.
Yeah, and even talking to their running back coach earlier as well, you know, they're looking to make sure that the third and fourth stringers are there for it.
And I stand corrected as they have called offsetting penalties. And the play is ruled out, and we will go. The original play, I believe, will stand as those don't affect either way. And so we will see how the Aztecs come out on first down from about the, I want to say the 25, but we will see once the chains realign themselves.
It looks like it might be around 2nd and 1, maybe 2, looking at where the referees lined up. But we're just waiting for those. Oh no, it is first down. They've just not moved the chains there for it. My eyes can't look on a diagonal, apparently.
Well, unfortunately, the very faint yellow lines on a green field do not help that. But we see they're coming out with the formation into the boundary as they adjust to that unbalanced formation with 4 eligible all on the same side, and they run a lead play for the quarterback, Alfie Burks, breaking outside to the left, and he finally goes out of bounds. Looks to be about a 5-yard gain. Those QB power runs with a running back leading for them, they seem really difficult to defend.
They do, yeah, especially when you've got no receivers on that side. You're very rarely going to have defenders concentrating so much there. Again, if they're shifting across, you might want to be sending blitzes around that edge because you know that they're not going to be there to protect it. Seal off that lead block a lot earlier to make that tackle a lot easier.
And just going with this formation into the boundary as well, you just see how much space there is to the right to attack. So if they come with that buck sweep out there, those guards have a lot of space to pull into. And we see them run the buck again, and they attack there down to, I want to say that looks like it might just be a first down, maybe third and very short. Let's see where they spot it. But they seem to really, that buck run just has so much success, letting those running backs get downhill and forcing those linebackers to play aggressive when they need time to see what's happening.
Yeah, it's great execution as well. Maybe if there's one thing, maybe have a little bit more patience at the running back position there because he was slightly ahead of the lead blocker, the second pulling guard. But yeah, it's great execution from the Aztecs.
And so this time, no pullers on that play as they go for more of a zone look. And number 31 still running downhill and still able to make some yards there. That was 31, Joey. I apologise there. That is Joey and Palmer. I don't know why that's a confusing name, but where they've laid out the pronunciations, and that confused me even more. but he's there making some yards. Looked like maybe going with more of a wide zone blocking scheme on that. Why does that offer such a change up to the buck sweep, the power runs that they've been running so far?
Just more wrinkles, more different ways of running things that start off looking the same. Keeps the defence on their toes a little bit more, on their heels while they're struggling to read what's going on.
And so the QB's pressured there, but he gets a throw off and the ball hits the ground. Going with that play action, looks like they're maybe going for a bit of a throwback, leaking that tight end out across and over the line behind the linebackers. Difficult play to defend, but they managed to get pressure there.
Yeah, QB not quite getting his feet set in order to make the play. The receiver was definitely open over the middle of the field there, but again just needed to set his feet. But again, good pressure from Solent to stop that from happening.
Well, let's see what they can dial up here. Once again, going with the formation into the boundary with that wing set to the right. Running back to the quarterback's left, catches the ball, drops back, and he throws it to the back of the end zone, but couldn't quite get that there. Looked like they had a slant from the outside with a corner over the top from that slot receiver. Got the ball to the back of the pylon, but just not quite in reach for number 86 to pull it down.
Yeah, it does bring up 4th down for the Aztecs as well, and it looks like they're keeping their offense on the field rather than going for a field goal. So we'll see if this pays off. Around 5 or 6 yards to make. But 1st down is still possible.
Let's see what they go for here. As we see the coordinator signalling as well as his dummy signaller as they line up with that same formation again on 4th and 6. Ball snapped high, snap to the quarterback. 31 running through. He breaks many tackles as he gets round to the edge, and he is... Touchdown is called. Flag thrown by the official at the back of the end zone, and we will see how they call this. Very difficult to see down there through the medics. What did you see there, Dave?
I'm not too sure where the flag would have come from. Possibly blocking again, or maybe a face mask, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the refs call this.
Offensive face mask.
So that's on the running back. So maybe when he's gone for a stiff arm, his fingers have clasped around it. We're not too sure how it works. His fingers may have clasped around the face cage of the defender, and as soon as he makes a movement from it in order to push him away, that head turns. It's an easy call for the referee to make when they're that close.
And so what was 4th and about 5 or 6 yards, they're now moving back a fair way, and we'll see if they elect to keep their offense on the field. It looks like they are.
4th and 15 from around the 16-yard line.
And they're now on the right hash, interestingly, which has changed the spacing because of their formation a bit. Running back on the right, flaring out. Ball thrown back as they set up a tunnel screen out to the left, but number 5 finds space and runs through for the touchdown. That is Chris Green breaking through for the score there. So those offensive linemen, not only are they good at handling the big boys up front, but they're athletic enough to be able to get into space and block the secondary as well.
Yeah, it's great play. Again, great execution across. It almost makes it strange and silly that we were questioning why they were keeping their offense on the field when it's 4th and 15. But again, now they're starting to rotate players in. They'll be looking to get them more game time, get their confidence up. As we were talking before about Solent and some of their players missing at the moment and maybe not being up to speed. It's games like this that you want to be trying to get that understanding in, which is what Bristol are doing.
When you see them run a play like that, you're almost why they didn't dial that one up sooner. As they kick through the extra point, which makes it 69-0. And they will be kicking the ball back to the Solent Thrashers, who will be looking to put some plays together and execute a couple of 1st downs at least on this drive. 68. I apologise. Jumped the gun. Clearly, I was doing so much to try and avoid any puns of the number, and instead got the number completely wrong. So we saw Solent come out, struggled a bit to move the ball there. What can they do? What can they do?
Again, I feel like a broken record sometimes when I'm saying the same things again and again. But it halted the last drive when they're getting a high snap or a fumble. It's making sure that they're executing the basics right. Without those, some of the timings can be off. Some of the, you're losing 5 or 6 yards after gaining 3 or 4 on the previous play. All of these little things add up. And even though it's not looking like this game's going to be back competitive anytime soon, you have to play each drive as it is, and you need to make sure that you're executing the basics of your offense. Otherwise, you're going to be going nowhere, and we could be looking at a much, much bigger score.
You're right, and some people might think to themselves, well, it's a high snap, they can still catch it, they can still bring it down. The Aztecs, we've seen them struggle when they've had some snapping issues as well. So it's something. It is something that creates some difficulties. As we see the return out there, as there's a flag on the sideline, I'm assuming that one of the referees felt that a block was a little bit above and beyond, as number 27 seems pretty excited with himself. It's the small wins in a game like this, isn't it?
I've never been a fan of celebrating flags, but again, we always say play to the whistle, but you've got to make sure that you stop once that whistle's there. And I can understand them being physical, I can understand them. At the end of the day, the players that are getting on are showing what they've got for more game time. Sometimes that can be over-exaggerate, over-exuberance, which can lead to a lot of these penalties. But again, we must be close to around 60, 70 yards of penalties for this Bristol Aztecs side. If I was a coach here, it can be sometimes difficult to find coaching points when you're up 68-0. But these penalties have to stop.
We can see the team leaders gathering the Aztecs on the sideline. I'm assuming that they're going to remind them of the job that they've got to do. And Solent is coming out here with their spread formation. They've got a tight end off the ball. Number 27 is lined up out there. And they hand the ball off to the running back as looked like they were getting some split zone action there, working with number 27 coming across the formation. What difference does it make when instead of having that tight end just fit up for a base block on the end, instead they're going across the formation? How does that confuse defenses? Does it change anything?
Yeah, I think the main thing as a defense is that you're expecting the block to come directly in front of you. When it's something like that split zone, when it's something like the two pulling guards that we've seen Bristol use to a great extent, is that you're having to keep your head on a swivel as a defensive lineman. It puts that hesitation, means that you're not getting into the backfield half a second, usually half a second quicker. If you're seeing that split end come across and that block come across there, it means you're hesitating, it means you're not always going to be there on time.
And so now we've seen Solent come out with the I formation to the left. QB just about gets the handoff off to the running back, who manages to march through for about 3-4 yards there. Impressive run. We saw the quarterback struggle to keep his footing to get the ball in his hands, but a nice classic lead run there.
There's some great extra effort as well. I'm pretty sure he had someone around his waist a yard behind the line of scrimmage to gain 3-4 yards out of that. One of the positives that you got to take from it for the Thrashers.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's good to see them mixing things up as well. They're not just trying to throw the same stuff at the wall. They are trying different formations. They're getting to different parts of their playbook. They're changing their personnel as well, bringing in multiple backs to try and make things work. You've got to credit their fighting spirit, trying to get the ball moving. A 68-point comeback is unlikely, but there's no reason they can't go get 7, 14, 21. Try and put some points up on the board to bring some confidence to this team in future weeks.
I wouldn't even be looking at that now. I'll be concentrating on these next 4 yards. Next 4 yards, get a first down, then look at the next 10. You have to take the small little victories and keep grinding those up. If you get 3 or 4 of them, then you can be thinking about scoring.
Let's see what they can do here. As they try and hand the ball off, and it drops on the floor. It looks like the Aztecs have recovered it, and it looks both times when that QB took that under center handoff, he didn't look comfortable with the ball either time. What did you see?
Yeah, it's something that's been lost. We saw it in the game, in the Apache game as well. Something that's almost lost in modern British American football. I know when I started playing, and I'm sure others would have started playing, it was something that you saw a lot more often. It was a lot more secure. But nowadays, everything seems to be concentrated so much on shotgun, on pistol, on getting that separation from the centre, that when you do come under centre, it can sometimes make it a little bit nervy, not only for the centre making the snap, but also the quarterback who's not used to taking those snaps and being in that position.
Especially when you've got those big D linemen up front for the Aztecs. That centre knows he's under pressure. That QB knows he's got to get away and get that handoff. Let's see what this Aztecs offense can do as they come out in the wing, strong left formation. And they hand the ball off to number 22 as he looks to break through, but he is swallowed up by number 59. I want to say he maybe made a yard, but it looks like the referees disagree with me.
Yeah, and, right on the line of scrimmage. It's a good tackle, great play there from 59.
Yeah, so we're looking at, that was a play by Dick Dransfield coming down to make that play on new running back in, number 22, Rob Ogborn, as they now rotate the backfield again. once again putting that formation into the boundary and opening up a lot of space to this right-hand side. And a high snap there. Ball's tossed up to number 83. Does a little spin in the backfield as he breaks through and he stiff arms the tackler and he manages to take the ball down to the 25. That play seemed to go all over the place, and yet it still gets 15 yards.
I think it's one of those that sometimes it's better to be lucky than good if you mistake the cliche. Having the play call where we've had that end around, that little pop up to the tight end, means that bad snap was already okay. That bad snap didn't matter because it was just a little pop pass to that tight end coming around.
Yeah, and hearing that not only are they good, but they are lucky is the last thing that the Thrashers want to hear right now, as they manage to get a quick quarter, and we will be moving into the fourth quarter here. We heard a little bit, some of the Aztecs team leaders, we could hear them discussing how they were not happy with the unsportsmanlike penalties they were giving up, how we need to get in together and execute and finish these drives off properly. Sounds like they want to kill this game off and they don't want to keep messing around.
Yeah, it wasn't just that. It sounded a lot like they were trying to put their foot down and almost stamp some authority to the wider world of British American football, make a statement in this particular game. They don't want to, they want multiple scores in this half. They've only got one in that third quarter because of the rolling clock. The drive took a long time, which was another thing that was brought up in that particular huddle. They want to get multiple scores in the quarters, so it's not just, they got to half-time and now they're coasting. These players need to understand that a lot of them now are playing for extra game time in the closer games later on in the season. They've got to be executing at the same level as the starters if they want any more time on the field. Well,
let's see how they execute here. We see them coming out again with that wing formation into the boundary as usual, and they hand it off. Or they don't hand it off. Quarterback pulls it, and he's immediately tackled there. Maybe a gain of about 2 or 3. Looked a little bit more improvisational than a designated read option there. I think the quarterback was maybe just trying to make something happen there, maybe feeling that pressure to get things moving down the field.
I think there was good pressure from Solent on the left-hand side there, making what would normally be an easy read for him to make that quick pass over to the left-hand side, not an option because he had somebody in his face straight away.
Well, let's see how they come out this time round. So let's see if the Thrashers can keep that momentum rolling as they're once again in that wing formation. Quarterback takes a snap, puts the ball in the stomach, but pulls it to throw to 86 on the bubble screen. 88 not quite blocking ahead as they wanted him to, and they are able to swallow it up. They are claiming that the ball was out, but I don't think the referees are having anything of it.
No, it was great work there from the Solent defensive backs as well. Actually having the numbers advantage on that RPO being pulled, maybe an incorrect read from number 4 because it was 3-on-2 in Solent's advantage. You were saying that 88 maybe not have got the block that he needed to, but when you're trying to block 3 or 4 people, you're never going to make the right decision.
Yeah, for those that are watching, you can see they've got the cornerback and that safety there, number 19. He's playing over the top, so they've got 2 over 2 there. So pretty much taking away that RPO. If number 56 can come out and play that as well, that's how they get their numbers advantage. But in theory, they should have blockers going the other way, as that's a bad snap, puts the quarterback in an awkward position, but he manages to dive forward for a couple of yards. Looked like they might have been setting up a QB run play anyway. Looked like the running back was going out to block the end, but bad snap, and they're not able to make anything happen.
4 receivers over on this left-hand side as well. It seems like Solent are switching where their linebackers are, having number 56 covering where those 2 tight ends are, having number 0 maybe as an extra coverage guy, so as they've got the tight ends on one side and the receivers on the other. 0's doing really well at coming across, and I think it was him that was involved in that play before.
And they are, you could hear the sideline was excited on 4th down. Grace John, the only female player this season, is going to in the backfield as she swings out to the left. The quarterback drops back, looks for an open receiver, takes it off himself with that lead block, and he is tackled. Looks like they are short. Didn't quite see the open receiver, 86, in the end zone. Looked like he could have sat down there and had a picnic by himself. There was nobody anywhere near him.
The swing was open as well there from the running back, but again, early to tuck, early to take off, trying to trust in his athleticism a little bit more. If you're doing that, you expect to run more north and south. It was a lot of lateral running, which means that they're only gaining 3 or 4 yards rather than the 6 that was needed.
As a backup QB coming in, rolling clock, not able to get the reps. Do you think sometimes maybe it's a bit easier to go and take off with that ball and try and force things a bit yourself, just knowing that you're not going to have as many opportunities to drop back and read it out and distribute the ball to all the players as you would if you were taking the starting reps?
Yeah, I think you're trying to be flashy. You're trying to get those splash plays so you can basically say, here's what I can do. Because you're trying to force things like that, it means that you're sometimes missing the basics. You're missing the things that the coaches are looking for. What you should be doing is taking the reps that they're taking the advantages that you've got and the plays that are given to you, rather than always looking for something big. Like
I always tell women I go on dates with, and they try and call me broke, I tell them no, less is more. As Solent get themselves ready here in that I formation again with the tight end off the line to the right hand side, and they look to hand the ball off to 27, who manages to run through the middle, maybe a yard, maybe two. Lead blocks not quite as successful as they were maybe when they were in that two-back pistol set. Yeah. It seems to be very condensed when they move into that I formation.
They do, but again, number 27 now has taken the majority of carries for Solent, still able to take contact and drive forward. He's falling forward, he's not necessarily being tackled and put on his back. All it will take now for the offensive line to do is maybe get 1 or 2 yards. These 2-yard plays will then turn into 3 or 4 once that first contact is made. It's been some good running by him.
And I think it's unlikely that they're going to be able to see this materialise now, but maybe in that next game these plays carry over and change the course of their season so far. Remember, they haven't won a game just yet, as they managed to break through there for that first down. And they start that maul, they keep the ball moving, and number 27 gets down to about the 35-yard line. Great energy.
Yeah, great drive from the offensive line. It's about 13, 14 yards on that play. Certainly one that will gain confidence in that offensive line, gain confidence on the sideline as well. They know that scoreline-wise, it's not going to get any better. They're unlikely to win. Like we said before, can they get 1, maybe 2 scores? Starts with hard-earned yards and hard-earned drives like this. 1 first down can turn to 2, can turn to 3. It's all you can ask for as an offensive coordinator at this point.
And it's interesting to work out, what formations work, what don't, what can we get to more? Are there plays from this look that they haven't maybe built in that they could in future? As they hand the ball off again, and number 27 breaks out of that tackle, breaks another, falls forward about 4 yards. One thing I don't know about you that I'm seeing is that lead blocker doesn't seem to be making contact at that second level. He almost seems to be overshooting it as those linebackers are staying at home and they are able to actually come down and still play their gaps, even though in theory they should be being taken out of the game.
Yeah, but at least now you've got an extra man for them to account for. You're bringing 6 blockers, 7 if you include the tight end as well, and you're giving one of them forward motion, which can always turn the tide. It can be something that he can just get a chip on somebody on that initial point and make it an easy block for an offensive lineman. I think what we're seeing here is a formation that we tend not to see too much in British American football anymore. Going back to more of a classic high formation can be something that Bristol might not have been expecting. Maybe something that now the coaches are trying to adjust the plays that they've got in order to short it down a little bit.
And so how do you? So we've obviously got they're playing some of the players that don't get to play as often out there now, and so how can this Bristol defence adjust without just giving up all of the space in the world? What small adjustments can they make to fit up the run better?
I think the easiest thing to do is to bring an extra person into the box. You have a lot of hybrid linebackers, defensive backs at the moment that'll be able to play on the outside to maybe cover the tight end, and going to more of a 43 rather than a 42 will certainly just make it a lot more difficult for them to get success.
We've seen them do that with 29 coming down there, 89 even. He's not quite able to make the tackle, but number 34 is able to rally up and take him out of bounds just after the sticks. So it looks like it'll be a first down. Sam Adesanya moving the sticks again. So we see them making that adjustment, but sometimes you just don't have the right body types in those positions either, do you?
It's not just that, it's not it's not seeing it on a regular basis. A lot of times, a lot of teams will, they will see their own team run spread. They will see their own team run the wing back formation that Bristol have been running a lot of times today. You don't see I formation that much. You're not going to see it training, therefore you're not going to know how to adjust to it properly. So the coaches will now be finding out the players that are on the field, whether they can have the football IQ in order to adjust to the instructions that are being given.
Yeah, and that is quite good, important talent evaluation. Are these players able to read and recognise things in real time the same way their starters are? As they've this time faked the handoff, and he gets the ball out.
82 was open, but it was thrown behind him there. Good pressure from number 52 from Bristol, but it does mean that the throw is slightly off time. He did have number 82 over the middle there, nice. Did look, because they're going to this 43, they have got a safety in the middle, so it might not have been complete, but it was just thrown behind him, to be fair.
So we saw Adam Woodward there, the defensive lineman, bringing that pressure, and it's a double-edged sword, the play action, because you do invite those linebackers and those safeties down and open that space, but you also, it takes a bit more time to develop, and if you can get a quick win off the line of scrimmage, that makes it very challenging for the quarterback to be able to drop back and execute a throw. As they come out in the I formation again, this time with their strength to the left with an off the ball tight end on 2nd and 10. And they toss this side to the weak side of formation. One-handed catch by Adesanya, but he is taken down in the backfield by number 35, the safety there, Matthias Nudelman. And interesting to run that toss to the quick side. Some people call it the weak side, some people call it the quick side. Probably caught them off guard, expecting a run to that left.
Possibly. I think the way that this defense is designed as well, you're always forcing the run to the outside to bring the extra defenders to that outside. You're instead of the prototypical asking your D line to contain and have the run come up the middle, you're asking your D line to force that run outside. So you have two or three players using the sideline to their advantage. As we saw then, there's 2 or 3 players that are automatically there. Maybe you could have planted a foot and cut up the field to maybe gain some more positive yards. They go to the sweep on the left-hand side this time. Great block from number 36 as he's going up the field close to the first down, maybe around a yard or 2 short.
Yeah, and it looks to be setting up 4th and short. This time, not much of a difference there in terms of how it played out. All you really do is you get an extra player to the blocking side, normally matched by an extra defender on that side anyway.
Yeah, and
just able to open up some lanes there.
The thing that the running back's done differently there as well is he's planted his foot and he's made his cut up the field. He had the block coming the other way on the previous play, but chose to go to around the outside to try and force it out there. If he'd have made that cut, used that blocker, he might have gained the same yards on the previous play. Unfortunately, I'm not Captain Hindsight, neither is the team there as well.
Well, now it sets up an interesting scenario as we got 4th and 2. They look to be coming out in that I formation again. We can hear watch the ball calls from the sideline, knowing that they might try and freeze them. And this time they go for a fullback dive. No space really. Looks like if he gets forward progress, he might get a first down.
The ball has come out though. Has the ball come out or has he just turned out of the... I think he's turned out of the contact the opposite way and got himself a first down.
Impressive running there. He looks to be hurt. We will find out as they do call a timeout for the injury there. Looks to be blocked up. They clogged up all of those interior gaps, but then he was able to explode out the other way, and just impressive job, just rumbling and stumbling for all of 3 yards.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what else do you need from a fullback dive? It was great work for him to keep his feet moving, great work for him to read the pressure that the tacklers are bringing for him as well, so he was able to feed off where that pressure, roll out of it in order to gain the yards that we needed, because it looked like he was a yard or 2 short on the initial point of contact and almost rolls himself to the other side of the line in order to make the first down. Again, 2nd or 3rd first down now on this drive for Solent. These are the things that are positive, that you could be looking to maybe get a score on the board.
Yeah, and great work there from Dijon Brown-Marshall, putting his body on the line. Has been doing good work all day in the backfield. Lead blocking on a lot of these plays since they moved into the I formation, where they've been finding some success late in this game. Unfortunately, a bit too banged up to continue out the rest of this drive. But number 28, I believe, is coming in to replace him as number 27 jogs across from the sideline. 1st and 10 at the 35 on left to middle hash here as they come out again in the I from what I can see. This time their running back has had a lot of yards in this game, Sam Adesanya. He's now in as that fullback with number 28, Kwame Hakeem, in the backfield. And they run that toss to him, but it looks like they're running a reverse to number 83, Alex Bruce, as he runs up the sideline, and he's got space, and he's at the 10, the 5, and he's down at the 2-yard line. Completely caught the Aztecs off guard there. They were not expecting that, and really great to see for the Thrashers there. It's not been their day, but they were able to make something happen.
Yeah, and great
What
work.
went wrong?
What went wrong? More like what went right. There was
What
some
went
great
right, what went
great
wrong?
work
How
from
are you
the
gonna take
offensive
it?
line. Obviously, they know the play before it starts. It's always an advantage. But it means that the line was able to scoot around and be waiting for the players to come across on that reverse. We were asking before about how players can not be caught out on those blindside blocks. Simple plays like that, where you're in the right position, you know exactly where it's going to be going. You have to be there in the first instance in order to soak up those blocks.
So they're now ready to punch it in as they hand it off to the running back, and he is swallowed up immediately and thrown down with a little bit of extra vigor. Aztecs probably didn't like getting that play converted on them, so they made sure to just let them know that they're still on top in this game. And they will call a timeout.
2:45, I think that was the call from the ref.
So they probably weren't very happy with the play that they just gave up. Sorry, we had to cut you off a little bit short there.
No, it's fine. I think it was around 2:45 that was left on that timeout. That has been taken by Bristol. The only reason I can think of doing it at the moment is to try and get more reps for these rotation players. But again, this just gives an extra chance for Solent to get a sgoal.
Well, let's see how they take advantage of it as we're now on second, and I want to say about 4 yards. Tight end strong to the right, and they roll out to the right, looking in the end zone, and nothing quite materialising there. Play action is great. However, a lot of the times when you really want to sell that run, you've got to put more blockers in. It makes it really hard to you've got less players downfield, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, he's always only going to be looking to one receiver there as well, which was number 82. I've been looking at maybe the design of it because it drew the players in, but his route took him back towards where those players were, looking almost like an in route or a deep post. You want to be looking to these corners, throw it to the outside. There's going to be less players out at the moment. Because
maybe need that fullback to leak into the flat to go with the grain and have him against the grain.
Yeah.
As they now put their tight end to the left on 3rd and 4, and they toss the ball out to number 28. Number 23 just destroying the block from the tight end and allowing the players to come in and swarm. We see number 23 was the last man to get up from the pile. I don't think he was the one that necessarily made the tackle, but he was the one that made the play, very obviously.
Yeah, you always love it as a defensive coach when you're taking on that lead block. You know, you expect them to hold it up. You expect them to close that gap down. He's just completely blown that play up. As we see a second timeout being taken by Bristol.
And it was Victor Wright making that play just there. As we now look at 4th and about 7 yards line. Let's see how they go. I'm assuming they're probably going to move away from this I formation on 4th down. Probably want to spread things out and get a bit of space here, or would you keep going with what's been working?
I mean, it's been working, so you may as well try and keep with it, as it looks like they are doing. Maybe another play action again, but it'll be interesting to see what else they can pull from the formation.
This time with 83 at the tight end spot instead of number 0, and he's dropped back to pass. He's looking for 82, and the ball's hit his hands, and he does recover a touchdown! And that is number 82. That is Paul Brady hauling that in. He's had one slant earlier today, a few plays that didn't quite go his way, maybe a couple thrown behind him, but that time he's able to beat his man, look the ball in, and put up 6 points on the board.
Yeah, and it's great work and something that's definitely been deserved on this drive. They've changed formations to that I formation, as we mentioned before, something that's not seen that often in Britball anymore, something that Bristol won't be used to seeing and haven't adjusted well to with the rotation options in there. I guarantee it's something that they'll be looking at in the future in order to stop.
There you go. Any offensive coaches out there, if you're struggling to put up the points you want, stop looking at the film from 2024 and go and dust off your book from the 50s and start running that I formation. As that PAT attempt is blocked and the ball is landed on there. So the score will be 68-6 to the Bristol Aztecs. And yeah, sometimes just going with the old tried and true works. You know, what's it called? The long-time Niners coach Walsh, who started off the Shanahan tree as it obviously developed, you know, he kept things classic. He often had 2 backs in the backfield, and it puts a lot of pressure on defenses, and it's multifaceted.
Yeah, sometimes you do see little wrinkles of the past pop into British American football. We've seen wing formations coming in today from Bristol, something that wasn't really seen, but was seen quite often a few years ago, but had nothing prior to that. You know, you had teams like Sheffield Hallam running double wings. back kind of 10, 15 years ago. Prior to that, it was the 50s that it was last seen.
We saw Leeds Beckett running double wings last year, and
Exactly.
they almost beat the UE Bullets until a last play that took them over the top to send them to that final.
And
so
it's something that is there. There's something that's available for people to use. You're not reinventing the wheel with this game. It's all about trying to fit something to the personnel that you've got that will be able to show benefits for it. And if I'm understanding rightly, that's one score each in the second half, with only 2 or 3 minutes left.
So if we take off the 60-odd points that the Aztecs had in the first half, it's an even game.
It is an even game.
Well, let's see if they can finish it out strong as they kick the ball away to number 9, who is running down to the right-hand side. Good blocking up front. He's leading down the sideline. He looks to be free,
He's still
making
moving.
some space, and he looks to be down at halfway line as there are
Another
flags
flag.
in the backfield. Not in the backfield, sorry. There are flags on the sideline, and we'll see how they rule it. Both the referees on all sides, I'm assuming, all they want from here is just no after the whistles, no naughties. Let's just keep it clean. Let's all get out of here in good condition to be moving around freely at work.
That should be the same for the coaches on both sides as well. At the end of the day, you need to be making sure that you're being disciplined and you're not drawing so many flags. I've said it a couple of times before. If I was a Bristol coach, yes, you are you're 62 points ahead at the moment. The fact that you've got more flags coming up, we've heard the leadership group having that conversation with players. We must be close to 100 yards in flags. As this one goes against Bristol yet again.
It is going against Bristol yet again as they are being marched back to what looks to be about, I'm assuming, the 23-yard line? Or
Around the
28,
30.
I think.
Oh no, it's around the 30, I think. It's really difficult to see these lines.
So if anybody from the Bristol Aztecs team is listening, feel free to ask the Dings Crusaders Club if they are able to put
Just
a
paint
different
them blue.
colour of lines.
Just paint them blue, that's all we ask.
There we go. We've done our lobbying as they now hand the ball off to number 17. Once again on a buck sweep run as he breaks a number of tackles
That's a great run.
and keeps rolling.
Is slightly out of bounds.
Just out of bounds there.
Looking to hurry up to try and get more plays off, but number 17 there with the great run.
And that is Archie Callum of the University of Bristol as opposed to UE. And he's been brought up from the Apache squad.
And 26 now in at running back.
That is Grace John again.
Is that a new clawback, number 10?
It is indeed. As they hand the ball off to Grace John, who is tackled for maybe a gain of 1. And our new quarterback you were talking about, number 10, was Callum Brown. It's his first season here. He's played in France previously, hoping to maybe earn some reps. But I imagine his job is going to be to hand off the ball mostly. And he drops back.
Just drop back to pass. Goes
Out to
deep
number
over to the
18.
right-hand side.
And not quite able to connect with number 18 there, Hassan Wasim. And it looked good conceptually, but just could not quite execute there. Probably not feeling very fresh. He's been on the sideline watching all game. But let's see how it plays out here as they're once again in that wing formation, strong to the left, 2 receivers out to the right. Hands the ball off to number 17 here, running to the edge. And he makes a few people miss, but is eventually tackled by Solent's number 59. No love lost between either side still.
Gain of around 2 or 3 there. A couple of whistles towards the end. Is that the end of the game? It is.
And that brings our game to a close there. The first half was 62 to nothing. And the second half was basically 6-all, or close to it. So a tale of 2 halves, but overall the game finished 68-6 in favour of the Bristol Aztecs, who are now 2-1 to start their season off in the Premiership South. And unfortunately Solent move to, I want to say 0-4, but I can always be wrong. I've been informed I'm correct. They are 0-4, so some things to work out in the second half of the season. This game has been pretty much over since the beginning of the game, unfortunately. Bristol came out and just blew the barn doors off of Solent. Fair credit to them, sticking through the entirety of the second half. They really stood up, made some adjustments and found some ways to keep the ball moving. Overall though, who was your MVP of this game?
That's a difficult one to say, if I'm honest. I think the running backs as a whole for Bristol definitely played well, although I think, actually with the pennies dropping now, both of the guards, number 77 and 74, I think they were still on the field towards the end there. Some of the movement that they were doing, the blocks that they were getting on any of the pulls that were coming across, definitely a force to be reckoned with when it comes to playing London again, when it comes to playing the northern teams in August and September. If they can stay healthy and stay as dominant as they are today, then I'd definitely tip my hat off towards them.
So the MVPs for this game then will be number 74, Rashid Gimmery, and number 77, Paul Potter. Go and enjoy yourselves a cold one after a long, hard day like that. And shout outs to the O-line coaches as well for putting together such a well-drilled unit. Well, thank you very much for joining along with us today. If you want to catch all of our games in future, make sure that you're tuned in on the live stream. Subscribe to us on YouTube, all of the platforms, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram and Twitch. Make sure you also hit the notify me button so every time we go live, whether that's on the weekend or in the week, you will be the first to know that those are going up, so you will not miss a single moment here at Sportank. Thank you very much to Dave.
Thank you very much to you.
Thank you. And thank you for Steve for recording everything. Signing off. Have a lovely evening, ladies and gentlemen.